AJ Hazzi, what's going on, my man?
Hey, hey, nice to see you.
Today we're going to be talking about recession-proofing your business and how to grow 25% to 50% consistently every year. That sound like what we're doing?
Yeah, today is going to be a little different than my usual, really granular stuff. We're going to talk about recession proofing our businesses. If you want to learn about lead conversion and how to scale and all that stuff, go back to the archives. We've got some really amazing webinars that we've already done. Today is about the habits, the attitude, the skills needed to thrive in any market and continue to grow. The 25 to 50% that you're quoting there, Morgan, that's just the growth rate that we had after launching our business in the midst of the global financial crisis. So I know it can be done. I've done it.
Yeah,
These are tales from the trenches. And yeah, I'm looking forward to showing you guys how to do it here today.
that's awesome. And just a quick highlight for this last session of the year. Was just chatting with AJ on Facebook about this. Everyone who has attended this webinar is also automatically entered into the REW Fast Track contest. And so we will be entering a ballot for you to win a Tesla. And so that draw is on March 31st. We're doing it at the end of the first quarter of 2022. So yeah, look forward to that. Thank you so much for attending. And AJ, yes, you are in the draw as well. He says, my wife wants a Tesla. So that sounds like something cool. So yeah, man, I'm going to hand over the screen to you. You got the con and let's jump into it.
Sounds good. I'm going to just share my screen. All right. Today I am going to skip all the fluffy intro stuff. I've got a ton of power packed content to get into with you guys. So if it's okay by you, we're going to skip the storytelling and get right into the nuts and bolts of how to recession proof your business in 2022. Now, before we do, I just want to congratulate you because right now, the people who are taking the time out of their busy day, I know we're all trying to close out our record year as strong as we can, but taking the time right now to invest in yourself and to invest in your business is what will separate you from the pack as we move forward into what will likely be a more challenging market. Now, you guys have heard my spiel a number of times. You can follow me on at VW Academy if you want to check out more of our content. But this topic today is near and dear to my heart because I founded Vantage West Realty in April 2008, which if anybody lived through that as well, we know that is when the financial markets melted down and mortgages essentially became impossible to obtain and the tap just shut in our business. And so we had to essentially rebuild what it meant to practice real estate in a market where it was very challenging to buy or sell homes. And so I'm proud to say we cut our teeth in the brokerage world in a down market and built the systems, created the tools that allowed us to not just survive it, but thrive through that and gain a ton of market share. So I'm excited to show you guys what you need to do in order to be able to do that. So today's agenda, why are you here? We're going to talk about the attitude that's required to survive a coming shift. We're going to get into the granular stuff, the skills that are required to remain relevant, keep you guys at the forefront of the transaction. The habits that you need to incorporate into your day to thrive during a down market. And then we're going to talk about the advantage of the down market that allows you to scale up your business while everyone else is playing it small. This is a huge, huge piece. And then hopefully, if I can talk fast enough, we'll get through my 60 slides. We'll leave some time for some questions, a bit of masterminding at the end. So where are we headed? Somewhat of a rhetorical question, but we all know the cycle, right? You've got hard times that create strong men. So, iron forges iron. And then the strong men create good times. That's sort of the summertime that we've kind of all just come through. And then the good times create weak men or weak agents. And then the weak agents create hard times. And this is the cycle of the economy. This is the cycle of the seasons. This is just a natural law of the universe. And so we know we've just come through some really good times, and we know that we've all gotten maybe a little soft with our skills. We've allowed the market to play offense. The market's initiated the majority of the contact. The urgency that was embedded in the market has allowed us to soften a little bit in our consultative skills. And so for the masses, this will create some hard times. But I want to tell you that because you're investing in yourself, you are not going to find yourself on that side of the equation. So before we go into the granular stuff, let's have a thought exercise here. What market is actually preferred to run a real estate business in? Throw it in the comments. What markets do you prefer? Do you prefer a bull market or a bear market? Let's see some comments. Morgan likes the bear. That's because you're an investor. What else, guys? Sean's interested in a bear market as well. That's great. Christina, you're on it too. Okay. Well, you guys are right on. You're switched on. And the reason for the bear market advantage is that it allows us to separate ourselves. What it does, see, right now, we've got this idea that, even a turkey can fly in a windstorm. You've got a really uphill battle working for buyers because you don't get to showcase your negotiating prowess. You have to encourage them to pay full list or well above list, no conditions. Sellers have the idea that, my house will sell itself. I don't really need you. Your commission seems like a little bit high given how easy it is to sell homes. And so you really don't get the opportunity to showcase your talents as much in a hot market. At the same time, you got more and more people diving into the business, and for that reason, things start to saturate. So I prefer a down market because what happens in a down market is the weaker agents jump ship real fast, so it consolidates the industry quickly. Buyers now can gravitate towards somebody who's an aggressive negotiator, somebody who is really switched on and understands the market, and who is a strong leader. So you get to showcase your leadership and your negotiating in a bear market. And then sellers, of course, you're their hero if you can get it sold, because 2 out of 3 homes will expire or get withdrawn in a bear market. So it really does afford you the opportunity to showcase and differentiate yourself from the masses. Now, on top of that, there's a huge, huge opportunity that exists in terms of building your market share and building your personal net worth that does not exist in a bull market. So that is the attitude that is required. You need to see this as a huge opportunity, okay? The attitude that this is going to be the greatest opportunity of your career when the market does shift. Now, I want to preface this. I don't want to be the doom and gloom guy that says that everything is going to change tomorrow, but we're all coming to this call from different marketplaces. And so talking about the real estate market at a macro level is kind of like talking about the weather at a macro level. It's different from place to place. So we do know this, though. Across the continent, we've seen the best real estate market we've had in the last 5 years, for the last 20. So we know where we are in the cycle, but everyone's going to come into this next cycle at a different time. It might not be next year for some of us, but having the attitude that when it does arrive, that it is the greatest opportunity of our career is the right attitude to carry into it whenever you do get there. And this is going to allow you to show up as a leader, and it's going to allow you to save some money right now so that you can be your own best customer when the opportunities do start to flow. In terms of having the best attitude right now, be super grateful for the market that you have, but be grateful for when it changes as well, because gratitude is something that you can do in any market. Gratitude is really coming from the space of abundance, no matter what. And so you want to have this attitude of gratitude. It is a game changer. Start every day and just remind yourself what you're grateful for this amazing business that we're in. That's going to prevent you from joining the Eeyores and the doom and gloom people when things do change. When things move from greed to fear, the attitude that most agents adopt is one where they're heading for the hills. Be on the other side of that. Be grateful for every single opportunity that it provides. Now let's get into the habits. Numero uno. Nobody likes to hear this, but you have to spend time in your CRM every single day. That is the paramount habit to succeeding in a bear market. Number 2, you've got to play offense. Right now, we're allowing the market to initiate contact. We're letting the buyers come to us, and we're doing a very poor job of follow-up. We're certainly not doing a great job of contacting our past clients and playing offense in our database, because the speed of the market is such that really we're just playing defense. In a down market, the habit is you have to play offense, which means you have to make a commitment to a certain amount of outbound calls every single day and every single week. And you've got to be relentless about your tracking. Track all of your KPIs. I'm not going to get into a ton of KPI talk here now, but I did a whole webinar that you guys can go. It's called Tracking Like a Boss. We did that right here on the REW platform, so check that out. But definitely implementing tracking is a must-have when you start to manage your business with metrics in a bear market. Personal development becomes a massive, massive piece of the overall puzzle. You got to control the content that goes into your brain. You got to make sure that you're not consuming the news and the doom and the gloom. You've got to take control and make sure you're putting the good stuff in. And so just a few book recommendations here. There's half a dozen. Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt will give you the kick in the pants that you need. The Big Leap is going to help you overcome any limiting beliefs that you might have about what you're capable of. The Miracle Morning is just about kickstarting your day and getting a head start on the competition. The Shift is Gary Keller's warning to everyone about what it looks like. If you have no idea, you've never lived through a down market, read that book. It's going to allow you to give a frame of reference of what happens when the market does shift. 12-week year is just an operating system. It allows you to get as much done in a quarter as most people do in a year, just by shortening the periodization that you're working in. And then Eat That Frog is a book that just talks about how to stop procrastinating and get the hard thing done first. So I would recommend that as your reading list as you go into 2022. This is going to start your year off right. Now, you got to take care of numero uno. When you prioritize your own health and happiness, you actually show up better for your clients. So make sure you're taking care of your body, make sure you're eating right, make sure that you're spending time with your loved ones and you're getting out and doing the things that you love and that you enjoy, because when you show up and when you're charged up, you show up better for your clients. Now, we've talked about how a changing market is not necessarily the end of the world. It could potentially be the biggest opportunity of your career, and that's how you should look at it. But what are the other threats that are out there right now? Well, we've got some pretty interesting market disruptors that are trying to disintermediate us. The tech companies, right? You've got the iBuyers, Zillow Offers. Despite what just happened with them, they were a really aggressive disruptor that was coming in, and they were grabbing market share like crazy. They've closed down their Zillow Offer program, but you still have Opendoor and OfferPad that are buying more homes than ever before, and the iBuyer trend is not likely to go away. You've got intermediary buyers like Ribbon, who are buying homes for people and then getting the selling side. So they're jumping in, getting upstream and helping people buy their next home first for cash, and then giving them a nice, comfortable period of time to sell their home and taking a small fee in between. That's a market disruptor. You've got discount brokers with salaried agents like the Redfin model that are coming for it. There's a lot of Wall Street money and SoftBank money that's looking to grab a piece of the real estate pie and to remove us as the center of the real estate transaction. So I think the bigger conversation isn't about the shift of the market, but rather, what are we doing about these market disruptors and how do we remain relevant? Prop tech is raising billions upon billions of dollars to get in there, and they want to be at center stage. They want to be a technology first, agent second business. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to keep the agents at the center of the transaction. I apologize. I have construction going on beside me. If you're hearing a lot of beeping right now, hopefully that stops shortly.
We can't even hear it, AJ. We're good.
Okay, beauty. So, little truth bomb. If we're all sitting here worried about Zillow or Redfin replacing us, we are not providing enough value to our clients. Okay. So what do we got to do? We got to adapt, right? That's our only choice. We got to adapt. So how do we do that? Remaining relevant. Numero uno, the number one referable skill that you must invest in is to become a master negotiator. We actually track the negotiation in our brokerage to see who's getting the most money off for their clients or getting the most amount of money for their sellers. And our top negotiator, we call them the chief negotiator on our team, Simon, is actually still taking Harvard level courses on negotiation even after winning that award. That's the level of intention that he has around that skill of negotiation. And that is what's going to keep him relevant no matter what the market does. This, unfortunately, is what the bulk of real estate agents are doing right now. They have completely lost the art and science of negotiation. They're just sending offers saying, hey, sent you an offer, please confirm receipt. My pet peeve in the industry. We've got to go old school. We've got to go belly to belly. Thankfully, I'm old enough in the business. I've been doing this for 20 years that I actually had to start in the era of carbon copy contracts, which forced me to get kneecap to kneecap with my clients and negotiate and develop those skills. But there's so many agents that are hiding behind technology, DocuSign and email and text, and they're missing the number one referable skill. Prop tech companies can't do the negotiating for us. They're banking on the idea that we're losing this skill and that clients just want direct access to one another via, DocuSign and, smart contracts, et cetera. That is not the way real estate should be practiced. So become an expert negotiator. That'll keep you highly, highly relevant for the time to come. Next one is having a variety of solutions. Most real estate agents are a one-trick pony. They've got one option, which would be, I can put your house on the MLS. I really highly advocate getting multiple strategies in your listing presentation. You should have the ability to provide a solution depending on where your seller is. Some people are looking for an instant cash offer. You should have an investor waiting or be connected to an iBuyer that will pay you a referral. Some people want to do a fix and list. You should have contractors that are willing to come in and help the person get their home up to the highest and best use of the property. You should have a trade-in program. You should have a sell and stay where you actually have an investor that will buy the home from them and allow them to do a rent back. All of these different strategies should form part of your Swiss Army knife of options that you have for sellers, because each individual one of these components is another company coming to try to disintermediate you and take you out of the equation. So for us to remain at the center, we need to make sure that we're able to offer all of these different programs, and that way we get to still be the advocate for the seller versus them going into the web or the funnel of each of these individual companies. Okay, and next up, becoming niche. So the opposite of a generalist, we want to get really, really niche. Doesn't mean ignoring all other types of the market, but it does mean that slowly building your credibility and your authority in one lane or in one parking space. And if you pick a niche or a hyper niche and you own it, it actually doesn't take very long to become the local expert in that area or in that particular niche, and you'll start building traction. Now, when you're talking about niches, there's something you got to look at, which is the total addressable market, right? And so you got to see, is there, say if it's first-time buyers, for example, in our market, there's 10,000 transactions a year, 15% of which are first-time buyers. If you're going to be a first-time buyer specialist, that means there's 1,500 transactions. Is that enough to run a business if you were to get 5% of it? Absolutely. Okay, that's cleared that hurdle. So you got to make sure whatever niche you're picking, like if you're looking at passive home design, for example, you might not have enough passive homes selling in your market to make that a real niche. So be smart about the total addressable market, do the research, but definitely start to look at ways that you can create authority in a particular niche. So let's brainstorm some of the options. You could be a first-time buyer specialist, like I mentioned. You could be a downtown condo specialist. You could be an investor specialist. That's what I personally did. That was my niche. You could be a vacation property specialist, which would be like a hyper niche of investors. You could be a new construction specialist. You could be a relocation person. You could target the baby boomers who are downsizing. We know the total addressable market there will be great for years to come. Heck, you could be an NFT and metaverse real estate specialist. There's people out of Miami that are already doing this. So there's so many, this is just a little brainstorm. There's so many potential niches that you could try. All right. Next is becoming the authority or the thought leader in your niche. So what I like to do is I start with video, okay? I don't do this because I love being in front of the camera and I'm vain. I do it actually because I'm lazy, and a video is the ultimate piece of content that can then be chunked down into little sub pieces. So I can take the video and then I can chop it up into little mini videos that become my Instagram sound bites for the next little while, or my Facebook mini videos. I can take the audio file of the video and I can create a podcast, or I can create little sound bite snippets from that. I can use a company like Rev or Scribby to get a transcription of it and then pay a ghostwriter to take it and turn it into a nice blog post. So you take the transcription, now it becomes a blog post. Then you can take the best little sound bites or little quotes out of your blog post and create quote cards that again become part of your whole content strategy. But it all starts with the video. So I highly recommend you get over whatever is standing between you and wanting to do video, because it's where all the content flows. Next one is in a down market, guys, investors become your best friend because they're the only ones with the courage to take the leap. So you want to update and upgrade your investment analysis skill. You can do it with software. The one that I like is Home Evaluator Pro for your iPad. It produces a nice little report like this that gives the person all of the metrics they would need to make an informed decision. But you have to get familiar with the terminology. You should know GRM, which is your gross rent multiplier. You should be able to explain a cap rate. You should be able to quickly in your head figure out cash flow and ultimately determine the cash on cash return based on the amount of money that needs to be invested in the investment to get that cash flow. This should be stuff that you can do fairly off the cuff, so that when you're in a conversation with an investor, you can show them that you're going to be a great guide and going to be able to curate opportunity for them. That was a huge piece of how I survived in the 2009, 10, 11 was just curating investment opportunity for investors. I had a long list of people who were looking for deals, and then I would have my pick of the week, and I would put it out like a jump ball to that list. And every single week I would sell the pick of the litter to somebody on that list. It's a really easy strategy to duplicate, but unless you can speak the language of the investor, you're going to have a hard time with any credibility. So, get a book like, for example, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor is a great one that Gary Keller wrote. Read that one. That'll give you the baseline knowledge that you need to play in this space. I'm seeing a bunch of comments here. Just want to take a quick second. Yes. Okay. It's just Morgan. All right. Customer lifetime value. So this is big in the marketing world. Morgan probably speaks this language for sure, but realtors don't really think about it in terms of customer lifetime value. So I want to show you how to take each of your clients and get the most amount of revenue you possibly can from them. So step one is to be premium. Okay. This is a conversation as right now in a hot market, it's a race to the bottom for there's downward pressure on premiums for sure. And that's our real estate fees. And people are trying to commoditize us. And so we need to understand something. There is no strategic benefit to being the second cheapest in the market, but there is a very major benefit to being the most expensive. Now, Vantage West Realty is the price leader in our marketplace, and it actually allows us to win business because we can stand tall and show up from a place of confidence that we're not competing with everyone else in that race to the bottom. In fact, we're looking to increase our premiums by offering more value. Value and price is a tricky balance. So in a commoditized world where if realtors are just door openers and we don't negotiate and we don't have any of these skills that we're talking about, then we're commoditized and that it's a price-driven conversation, and that only has one direction it can go, which is down. Now, rather than being commoditized, you could be differentiated. So you could seek to be very different than everyone else, and then it becomes a value-driven conversation, and you exit the conversation around price, and the conversation is purely about what you do in exchange for your premium. Buffett says it well, price is what you pay, value is what you get. Take a second to let that sink in. It's a really important paradigm shift that you need to make. As I said, when you do compete on price, it's a race to bottom, but competing on value, you get to position yourself as a premium service, and there's really no limit to what you can charge, provided you're creative enough to offer a premium service. So let's have a little thought exercise. In the comments, I want to hear from you just for fun. Let's think about we're in a listing presentation. What value, what would we need to offer? What would we need to include or package in to make agreeing to a 10% fee? This is just a number I picked arbitrarily, an absolute no-brainer. What would we have to do? Let's see some comments. Let's see how creative you guys are today. This is just a mind-expanding exercise. What about a guarantee, like a guaranteed outcome? Just for fun. What about like a really high budget feature length video, like lifestyle video that you did for every client? Like you brought in a Hollywood production value to do it. What if you flew high net worth people in on a private jet? Like there's no limit to what you can offer. The only limitation is our imagination, right? And so rather than getting involved in like discounting conversation, let's start talking about what we can do to flesh out our services and add more value so that we can actually put upward pressure on our fees. Next up is your Google My Business account, and it's all about getting reviews. You've got to make sure that you're winning this arms race. So in Kelowna, if you type in best agent in Kelowna, you're going to see us at the top because we've invested in getting a ton of reviews. These are heartfelt reviews. They're not fake. They're not me going to my industry buddies and asking them to do reviews for us. These are real client testimonials, but we ask for the review. And it's very important that you adopt this mindset, because reviews, when people are, especially in a market that has turned, when things are a little more challenging, people are gravitating towards the strength. If you have a challenging real estate transaction, what are you going to do? You're going to look for the best, right? You're either going to get a referral from somebody, or you're going to Google the very best in the market. Just like if you were looking for a heart surgeon in a life or death situation, you're going to look for the best surgeon. You're not going to go with just anybody. You're not going to look for the guy who's offering heart surgeries half off. You're going to look for the best. So the way that you communicate that you're the best is through reviews. So make that a priority. The way to get them is to ask at the right time. There's always a crucible moment in a transaction where the client is eternally grateful for your service. Make sure you just say, hey, you know what? Nothing would mean more to my business that if you could share your experience with the world. Do you mind if I send you a quick link and make it really easy on them? Text them the link to Google, and it should auto-populate right into the reviews section, and they just quickly type their thoughts and hit go. That's making it easy on them. So it's about timing and it's about ease, right? So right at that moment when they thank you, you say, no, it's my pleasure. I'm going to send you a link. Tell the world, right? And then the reality of real life is that a lot of people with their good intentions won't do it. So you got to circle back. You got to ask one more time. Not a big deal. Just, shoot them a buzz a week later. Say, hey, I know you mentioned you wanted to give us a review. I know life gets busy. I'm just going to flip you that link one more time if you don't mind. If you could circle back and do that, it would mean a ton to my business. Thanks so much, right? Just ask again. And then lastly, be intentional with your replies. There's two different types of people when they're reading reviews, and I know we all read reviews now before we test any service or any product, but different people are looking for different things. Some people are looking for someone that displays a high level of competence. So they're looking for reviews that say this person has a ton of market knowledge or this person is a great negotiator. That would be competence. There are other people who are looking for someone who displays a high level of character or someone with a high level of care. And so they're looking for reviews and they're hoping to pick out something that says that this person took care of me, or this person listened to my needs, or these type of high empathy, high emotional type of buzzwords. They're looking for those. And so what you want to make sure is that every review and reply combination ticks both boxes, so that no matter who's reading it, you're going to give them what they need to want to pick up the phone and call you. They're only going to read 2 or 3 reviews. So if somebody reviews your competence and says you did an amazing job negotiating, you demonstrate your character by saying, I hope you and Janet are raising those kids in that house for years to come and enjoy the tree fort in the backyard. Something that shows that you care, right? Something personal. And then vice versa. If somebody comments on how you never were pushy and you drove them around to 1,000 homes, then you want to make sure that you mention something about your competence, which is, that was fun, but what was even more fun is negotiating such a great deal on your guys' dream property. Something like that. Okay. Next up in lifetime customer value is referrals. So you want to make sure you're setting the expectation with every single client that you work with. One of the best scripts out there is the Promise script. Google it on YouTube and watch that through. But basically what you're doing is you're setting the expectation with every client that your whole system is designed to give them a 5-star experience. And the only way you know that you've done your job is if at the end of the transaction, they have told someone else how wonderful your services is, and they've introduced you to someone else who could use your service, right? And so it's setting that expectation early on and training them on how to do it. It's a wonderful script. You want to make sure that you incorporate that into your initial onboarding. So you're setting the expectation with every client that you expect them to duplicate themselves, so long as you're putting your head down and doing all of the things that you mentioned in your buyer's presentation that you do. Next is perfecting the ask. So you got to have scripting when you're making outbound calls and you're talking to past clients, knowing how to ask for a referral. This is something that, we all, when business is falling in our lap, we get a little weak on these types of scripts. So we've got to go back to basics and remember, when things are tough, it all comes down to scripting. And so the best way to ask for a referral is to ask somebody point blank, of all the people that John, who do you think would be most likely to buy or sell a home in the next 90 days? And then typically they'll say, I don't know. No one comes to mind. You say, no, great. Well, here's the thing. Now that we've talked, it's really likely that over the next 3 to 4 weeks, you're going to come into contact with somebody that could use my service. So all that I ask is that when you do, you pull out your phone, shoot me a quick text with their name and number. And that way I have a 100% chance of getting in touch. Does that sound fair? They always say yes. You say, great, nice chatting with you. Look forward to that introduction, right? That level of skill in the referral asking is what's required to generate business out of your database when the market gets tough. And then you want to lead by example. Have an amazing referral directory that you can be that hub for all of your clients and all of your contacts, where anytime they need anything, whether it's a referral to a car dealership or a plumber or whomever, they're going to come to you and you're going to give them somebody that offers that 5-star service. The cool part about this, and here's a little hack you guys can implement today, Send an email out or put a Facebook post out there that's saying, hey, I'm updating my referral directory for 2022. I'm looking for amazing or exemplary businesses that I can add to it across all different industries. Please recommend any businesses that you think should be on this. When you do that, there's going to be a certain percentage of the population who is going to feel compelled to promote their friends and feel compelled to promote local businesses that they love. Great. What these people are doing is identifying themselves as that small percentage of the population that is that connector mindset. These are your walking, talking billboards. And so you are actually segmenting and isolating those people in your database who will take the time out of their day to answer your email about what businesses need to go on my directory. And now you know exactly who you need to focus on endearing and providing an immense amount of value to, because they've just highlighted and identified themselves as mega connectors in your database. So do that. It's an awesome thing to do at the beginning of every year, and you'll know who to spend your time on. And then if you haven't already, incorporate Client Giant or some version of these type of retention gifts. Once a client closes, do a 12-month period where you're giving them a quarterly just a little best-in-class gift that will promote additional referrals from your database. Next up is a client appreciation program. You want to make sure you've got this tight as a drum going into any kind of shifted market. That makes sure you've got your clients' birthdays. You've got automations for holidays and their homeversary done. You can use handwritten.com to fully automate a handwritten note that's done in real handwriting. You want to have an annual client party. You're going to need to have client giant retention gifts, like I mentioned before, and you're going to have all of this on autopilot so that your database, you've built this beautiful fence around them, and they feel compelled to be your raving fans. Now, the purpose of a business is to create a customer who creates customers. This is what we're talking about here. And a lot of people get this ego or this attitude where, they don't think that they should be doing any marketing. They think all their business should come from referrals. No. Big mistake. And that's why, as REW clients, you guys know how important it is to fill the top of the hopper. And that's so that you can create this flywheel effect where you've got an abundance of new marketing opportunities, new lead opportunities at the top of the funnel. Then you bring them through your 5-star proven system. And if you're looking for a full webinar on this, we did that. It was called A Sales System That Scales. So go back to the archives and look at that. But you want to have this 5-star delivery system, and then the advocacy program that we just talked about. That's cultivating reviews, repeat business, referrals, etc. And when you get all of this working in unison, that reviews and repeat brings clients back up to the top of the funnel, and it keeps going around and around. But the new leads and the marketing, digital marketing that we're doing is really what pours gasoline on the fire. And so it's really important that you get this whole wheel working. So on the lead gen side, I really truly believe content is king right now. So you've got to make sure you're putting out really good content. You've got to be mining your database, but nothing will beat for bringing new leads into the funnel. Just a ton of traffic, whether it's through PPC or whether it's through SEO, getting as many bodies or as many people to your website so that they register is how you make sure you keep that funnel full going forward. Starting with lead on the content side, market updates are huge. I like to do these on a quarterly basis where I just break down what's going on in the market. I talk about some market stats. I talk about absorption rate. I talk a little bit about pricing. I talk a little bit about where I think things are going. And I just synthesize the information and the data for my clients. I get huge response from these market updates, and I post them on YouTube and I post them on our blog. Next up would be thought leadership. So these are evergreen pieces of content, like the 5 things every seller should know before they list, or the 3 things you need to know before you buy a home in 2022. These types of thought leadership videos go out, and it keeps your database informed, and you can use them as marketing pieces on Facebook and other platforms to introduce yourself to people who are not familiar with you. And lastly is just curating the news. Anything you see industry related, share it, post it, put it on LinkedIn, put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram. That's all you really need for a content strategy. You can get overwhelmed with TikTok and all these other things. You don't need it. You just need a few real basics like the market updates, thought leadership, and the curation of news. All you need. Mining the database is next up. I do have a document. If you guys are interested, just ask for it in the chat. I'm happy to send it. It's called the Big Purge. And this was a really cool exercise that we did at the beginning of the year, where we actually went through our phone and we downloaded all of the contacts into a CSV file. Then we took that CSV file, made it into a spreadsheet. We used a Google Sheet. Okay, so there was, I think in my phone, I had like 2,500 contacts. Next thing I did was I exported all of my contacts out of Gmail, or whether you're using Outlook, whatever email client, you can actually go in and you can export all the contacts out of there. And then I actually went to Facebook, and Facebook does a pretty good job of ordering your top 1,000 friends, or orders your friends based on how much engagement and how close they assume you are. They do a pretty good job of figuring that out. And I actually downloaded or exported my top 1,000 people off of Facebook into that same spreadsheet. Okay, so now I've got this spreadsheet. It was like, I think there was like 6,500 names on it by the time I was done. Huge. So now you've got some pretty inaccurate or incomplete data. So what do I do with that? For everybody that I had only a cell number, because that came out of my phone, I put them into a mass texting and I said, hey, I'm updating my contacts for 2022. I noticed I don't have an up-to-date email for you. Where would be the best place for me to send valuable real estate information? And you get about a 5-10% response rate from that. And all of a sudden I have a whole bunch of email addresses I didn't have before from contacts in my phone. Similarly, if I only had an email address, because these are the people that came out of my my Gmail, similarly, I just said, hey, updating my contacts list for 2022. And I noticed I don't have an up-to-date cell number for you. Where would be the best place for me to text valuable real estate information? And then similarly, I got a whole bunch more. I was able to add, I think after all said and done, I was able to add another 800 people where I had complete contact information for them into my CRM, and then now use them, put them on my client appreciation program. Now, a really cool little hack, something that you can do to build a fence around them, it's free, it's automated, is a radius search. You can, maybe Morgan can chime in here. Do you guys have the ability to do a radius search with the REW backend? I know I do mine on Matrix, but I'm wondering, you could probably do this.
Yeah, you can do a radius search like on the front and back end for the MLS, but not for your contacts. Are you saying a radius search for contacts?
What I do is if I have their address,
yeah,
then I set them up on a 1 kilometer radius search on a monthly digest of everything that's either sold or been listed in their area, which I use Matrix for that because it's really easy.
Oh yeah, you can do that for around their address. Absolutely, you can do both a front end or a back end radius search within X. I mean, it's probably miles, not kilometers in the REW system because we're mostly US based. But yeah, exactly. You can totally do that.
Getting as many people, all your past clients and even prospects on your list onto this radius search is a game changer. This is probably one of the best, most actionable pieces that you'll get from this webinar, because what it does is it gives them a little drip every single month with the most relevant content that they could possibly ask for. It's going to give them all of the sold data and all the active data within a really, really tight little circle around their place. Eventually, they're going to see something and they're going to go, holy crap, that house is going for that. What's mine worth? And what are they going to do? They're going to contact you. It's all automated. It's branded. It's coming from you. It's brilliant. Please do it. And then beginning of the year, the real estate related goals call. So we're mining our database here. You're going to call through your best people. Start with the center of the bullseye. These are the people that have done business with you, or they've sent referrals in the past. And you want to call them up and just say, hey, I'm really excited about this upcoming real estate year. I'm taking a little bit of time now while things aren't totally crazy to connect with my best people. And I just wanted to ask you, what are your real estate related goals for 2022? Anything I need to be mindful of? Maybe you're thinking about renovating. I've got some great contacts I can share with you. Perhaps you're thinking about refinancing. I would love to connect my mortgage broker if you want to capture some of the equity gains. Or maybe you're thinking about downsizing, buying investment property. Is there anything at all that I can help you with over the next little while? So you're leading the witness a little bit here, and then that opens the conversation. They're going to say, we are kind of thinking about doing this. And then what you're going to end up with after, say you do this for a month and you call 100 people, you're going to have a wealth list of people who are looking at doing something over the next year, and you've got the quiet confidence rolling into 2022 that your year is made, because you can see right there on a piece of paper, you've got 20, 30 transactions all dialed up, and you get to provide value, and you get to ask people for referrals as well, using that script I mentioned about 10 minutes ago. And make sure you send out the quarterly market updates to this group of people. They'll love you forever. If you get somebody on a radius search, call them once a year to ask them what their goals are and put them on a quarterly market update. They're not going anywhere. You've got a fence built around that group. All right, then you got your lead gen and your website traffic. This is the third pillar of your marketing plan. Make sure you're doing a heavy amount of PPC. It's been the mainstay of my business, working with Morgan on this. I mean, we've scaled this thing up now to, we're doing, I think, over 2 million in GCI this year from that one pay-per-click channel. So it's huge. You can run a $500,000 a year business off of a $3,500 a month ad spend just using these metrics right here. Right? A conversion of 1.5%, which isn't even really that good. Generate 2,800 leads, paying $15 a lead. You're going to spend 42 grand and make $500,000 bucks. It's really not, I shouldn't say it's simple. I mean, I coach and train people on how to set this up, but once you get it going, it is the most scalable and just the most predictable revenue generator that you'll have in your business. SEO is how.
AJ, I want to jump in here. Have I showed you the new income calculator yet that's online for this?
No, I don't think I've seen it.
All right, I'm going to pop it in the chat and maybe we can talk about it at the end of the session. But yeah, we actually coded a new application that helps people accurately predict these numbers for SEO and PPC. It's really cool. So definitely I'm going to make a note to share this at the end of the call.
Hey, right on. That's awesome. It's all about driving traffic, right? You've got to get as many people to your website as you can. PPC gives you the highest intent. SEO, I would lump in there with that. So anybody that's Googling something and finds their way onto your website is obviously a little further down the buyer process. But Facebook is kind of more of interruption marketing. You can put stuff in front of people and you can get a lot of very cheap traffic off of Facebook. I don't like generating leads on that platform, but I do like generating traffic. So just use Facebook as a way to market your listings. The people that are going to click on those listings and go to your website and eventually register, those are high intent people. But that's how that little trifecta there will keep your website producing all the registrations that you need. And then it really all comes down to your follow-up systems. Really simple. You could have a $250,000 funnel off $1,000 a month in traffic. This is how we started. These numbers may not be exact for you guys, but $1,000 a month could produce up to 120 leads once you get things rolling. You could get 108 contacts out of there. So, get 90% of them on the phone if you're relentless with your speed to lead and making sure you didn't dud a lead before you tried them 10 times. 10% of which will probably result in an appointment. 70% of those will show up to that appointment. 70% of those appointments will commit to working with you. And then 30%, wow, 1 in 3 will actually do business with you. And then right down to the bottom, 1 in every 2 clients that you work with should leave you a review. And there you make $250,000 a year off of $1,000 of paid traffic. This is the exact funnel that I help people put together in their business. We usually work hand in glove with our EW to do it, to get that 120 leads rolling. And then as soon as you're getting predictably a couple of deals a month coming from it, what do? We scale it. And like I said, this thing does scale into the multiple millions. Now, the fortune, of course, is in the follow-up. You need automated nurture campaigns going in your CRM that are value-based. We're not talking about recipes. We're talking about things that really provide value. Your evergreen content that you put out, like the 3 things every buyer needs to know before they invest in 2022, something like that. But little nurture campaigns that drip value on them, or maybe it sends them to your reviews so they can do their research on you. But these automations that are providing the right content at the right time to the people in your database. You want to make sure you've got your saved searches going in the background. REW does a great job of that, of creating saved searches. Once they've looked at a number of properties, it will automate a saved search. Make sure you've got that cooking in the background, and make sure you're spending 30 days in your CRM daily and advancing people through the sales process. Use the notes, log your calls, adopt the mantra that if you can't see it in the CRM, it did not happen. For those of you that are running teams, this is important. You got to make sure that everybody understands. If I can't see it in the CRM, it didn't happen. I don't care how many calls you said you made. If they're not logged in the CRM, it didn't happen. Okay. And then use the tags and use the stages so that you can move people through the cycle. Do this business well, you've got to be great at managing relationships, and there's no way to manage relationships at scale without being best friends with your CRM. So invest the time to become just really adept at working in your CRM, and just make it part of your day. It's the first thing you do before you start returning emails, even before you work out in the morning. Get in there and spend 30 minutes in your CRM. Now, many of you's head is probably exploding right now. There's so much to implement. I get it. But before we talk about the implementation of it, I want to ask you guys, what do you ultimately want? Do you ultimately want more money or do you want more time?
And we're putting this in the chat, right?
Yeah, man, throw it in the chat. More money, more time. Mike wants more time.
I want more money for the amount of time I spent.
That's a smart answer. Time's the new flex. That's right. The real currency of wealth these days is time freedom. Now, the simple fact is you don't get more time without more money. There's a cart before the horse scenario here. I mean, you can certainly have more time. You can go vagabonding on very little money. But if you want to do it in any kind of style and you want to have the security for your family, you need the money aspect. So the answer is you need both. But what you're really ultimately wanting is more time. So more money without time is really, it's really just a prison cell anyway. You need to have the time to be able to enjoy and endear your family and go on trips and do the things that you love and that you enjoy. And the only way to do that is with leverage. Now, the problem is most agents are torn between providing amazing service and increasing their volume. They think that they have to play it small in order to be able to offer that personalized service for their clients. Well, the fact is, that's not really what you need. What you need is leverage. And with leverage, you don't have to choose between the two anymore. It's all about controlling your time and making sure you're getting the most out of your input. So you can leverage three things. You can leverage capital. We all understand that. We live in a leveraged world of putting 20% down on the house. We get that. You can leverage technology, which is what we're doing with Morgan's platform and other technologies that we have in our ecosystem. And what I prefer to do, and is part of the overall puzzle, is to leverage talent. Bring people into the fold, and you can, many hands make light work. On the capital side, I highly recommend you're investing 50% of your revenue into creating freedom and scalability in your business. You can invest $5,000 a month into a lead generation, make 50 grand. That's a highly leveraged thing to do. And you can take your profits and you can invest 100 grand into a $500,000 asset to create multi-generational wealth. That's taking your capital and making sure that your capital is well leveraged and intelligently used. I'll skip this slide for the sake of time. Technology. Build a plan in your CRM once. Highly leveraged activity. Now you have automation. So you do it once, it's evergreen. Record one bomb video. You know, it could be something as simple as that real estate related goals call. You could send that out via video and send it to hundreds of people in your database that you're not going to have the ability to pick up the phone and call. Highly leveraged thing to do. Make one piece of evergreen content. That's that 10 things you need to know before you buy a home this spring type of a content. Post it on YouTube. Very, very leveraged. You're leveraging their platform. Okay, so make sure that you're doing highly leveraged things when it comes to technology. Ringless voicemail drops come to mind. Like, I love that system. There's so many things that you can do to be one to many and leverage your time using technology. Let's talk about the talent side of things. Okay, a lot of people here are solo realtors. Many people already have teams and are somewhere on this chain. But the very first hire you need to make is a very talented administrator, your super admin. I like to think of this person as an operations director. This becomes the yin to your yang. This person knows your business intimately, inside and out. And this isn't somebody that you're paying $13 an hour to. Okay, this is somebody who could eventually be making, you know, 60, 80, even $100,000 a year as a great administrator that really understands the intricate workings of all the different departments of your business. So once you have that person, you are free now to work on the macro side of the business, which is what you need to do if you have a vision and you want to grow it. So it's that visionary integrator role. The next thing you need, if you're generating leads at scale, I mean, if you're generating 10 leads a week, you don't need an ISA. But if you're getting into the hundreds of leads per month or week, you definitely want to leverage yourself with a talented inside sales agent. That's what ISA stands for. Now, depending on where you are, you have the option potentially of going virtual. Some places like where I am, British Columbia, it's one option, and that's you've got to go in-house. They have to be licensed, but you have to make that decision. But definitely having an ISA at some point, handling the speed to lead, handling the 10 attempts per lead, handling all of the nurturing, the long game nurture that you have to do to really win at the digital marketing game, that's done by an ISA. The third piece is a salaried showing partner. And I talked about this in one of our other webinars, but I want to touch on it again. This is the hire for 2022 if you're going to make one. You're giving somebody, so you run an ad for an intern, and you're giving somebody the opportunity to learn or excuse me, to earn while they learn the business from a top producer. This person comes onto your team and they become your proxy. They go to inspections. They handle weekend showings and evening showings. They're the ones that you send out to do to meet the appraiser. They're getting the opportunity to see the business from the inside out. They're making a small amount per transaction and a salary which is enough to cover their basic expenses. Because it's framed as an internship, their expectations when they pick up the phone or when they email you for an application are pretty low when it comes to compensation. This person might make 50 or 60,000, but be part of and do the heavy lifting on 50 or 60 transactions. So it's a huge, huge piece of the puzzle. And then that person eventually graduates to becoming an agent on your team. On our team, an intern will do 100 transactions before they graduate. And then we like to say, you now have 10 years of experience that's been downloaded into you in a year and a half, 2 years, however long it took. And they are a seasoned, well-oiled machine by the time they hit the ground running and become a full team agent. But essentially, this becomes sort of your on-ramp for recruiting agents onto your team. But what that salaried showing partner does is it gives you back 80% of your time so that you can really work on tinkering and playing with the macro side of the business and working on the business versus in it. So the operations director, the ISA, and the showing partner, that's the trifecta of leverage. If you're a solopreneur, you're not going to do it all at once. You do it in the order here that I've shown you. But leveraging talent is how you end up being able to spend 3 months a year away if you want and go on vacations without having to check your email all the time and being home at night with your kids and being able to do the things that you enjoy, whether it's golf or skiing and all that stuff. You got to have some leverage on the talent side. Now, getting all of this stuff implemented doesn't happen overnight. It's brick by brick. And we adopt this idea of this Kaizen approach, which is small changes over time add up to big improvements. And so what you want to do is you just want to figure out in a sequential order, what am I implementing into my business? What am I adding today? And that's all that you focus on. As soon as that's done, you move to the next brick. Okay, so you don't do what I did for the last 15 years, which is having 1,000 tabs open at the top of the computer and 1,000 open loops. One thing at a time, the highest priority, the next brick that you need that is the foundational piece to your business, and you be laser focused on that, you get it done. Then you move to the next one. And that's what we do with the Vantage Academy is we help agents and team leaders build these bricks. And I like to always just tell everybody, slow down. I know we're all macro. We want to get everything done in the first month. It takes a bit of time, but if you adopt the Kaizen mentality, the small changes add up to huge, huge improvements. You get the compounding of them over time, and you can double and triple your business every couple of years. That is the end of my presentation. I think I got through it fast. I think I talked a mile a minute, probably a lot to download. You must have questions.
You crushed it, my man. All right, so guys, if you want to go ahead and put any questions you have in the chat there. I am going to see if I can pull up this calculator. This will stop the other screen share. Excellent content. Thank you. Let me see here. So this is that calculator that I was talking about. Let me know if you can see the calculator here. Can you see that now?
That's great.
Yeah, so here's how this works. So basically, getting back to sort of the income calculation part of your presentation, we coded this so it actually takes into account all of the variables for people if they're trying to do that 2022 forecasting of what they need to spend or how many leads they want to do, or they can work sort of backwards, forwards, backwards. I actually plugged in one of our attendees here. I plugged in their numbers into the calculator. So these are actual numbers of one of your clients and one of our clients. And so this calculator, what it does is it allows you to plug in all the things, whether you're, 3%, 2.5%, you can choose PPC, SEO. If you have a transaction fee that you have to pay on to your brokerage per transaction, how many leads you're getting or how many leads you want to target, what your split is, what the average sale price is, etc. So I wanted to pull this up because I think this demonstrates the value of a program like the program you work with, AJ, because I know you always advocate, budgeting budgeting low in the center, sorry, budgeting high and shooting low for conversion, so that when you can improve that, you do better than your worst case scenario, right? So I think you use the 1% as the hey, if you can't do that, you're probably doing something wrong and need to really improve the systems. But fundamentally, when you use this calculator, just change it to 2%, right? You go from a net on just 3 leads a day in this particular person's market, you go from $130,000 in commissions to $275,000, right? That's more than double a net just by improving that one conversion point, right? And I know you talk a lot in past sessions about how there's, I'm not sure how the person you always reference, but talks about 25% in each of these categories, right?
You need three connected levers at 25%, you'll double your business. So if you can improve the amount of people you talk to out of, say you get 3 leads and right now you're only getting one out of the 3 of them on the phone. If you could get 1.5 of them, or even 1.25% of them on the phone, that's a 25% improvement there. The next one would be, of the people that you talk to, how many of them can you get to agree to a meeting? So it might be currently 1 in 12. If you can get that to 1 in 10, you've improved that by 25%. And then the last one would be, of the people that you actually get to the meeting, how many of them sign an agency agreement with you based on your value of your presentation? If you can go from 4 out of 7 people to 5 out of 7, you've improved that by 25%. And lo and behold, you've improved 3 interconnected levers and you've doubled your business.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So just wanted to call out this calculator because, I built it and it's cool, but also it's specifically cool for the internet marketing people. So there are so many REW people on these calls, right? And watching the replays. And so I popped it in the chat. It's just /income-calculator. You can swap it between SEO and PPC. If you're using PPC, again, instead of the real number, put in an expensive number, call it $20 a lead and go down to 1%. Start from what would not be very good numbers and work backwards from there, because that's if you can hang at $20 a lead and 1% conversion, imagine what you could do if you just get that to 2% conversion and you get that cost per lead down to $10, right? So that's the logic here. And if you swap it to SEO, it's just about how many targeted visitors, right? So a typical organic site for an agent or a team, they should be targeting like 3,000 to 5,000 organic visitors. They shouldn't think they're going to have Zillow type traffic, right? But if you even put in like 100 daily visitors, that's what an SEO campaign should be able to easily produce over time. So you can kind of mess with the metrics, set them low, set 4% visitor to lead conversion and keep it down at 1%, right? Like these numbers, they're fun to play with, right?
Yeah. And if you want to learn how to manipulate these numbers at a high level, the conversion mastery webinar we did in the link that Eliana just posted, look for the conversion mastery webinar. That one was like really, really all just laser focused on this exact stuff, how to improve this and move the needle in each of these areas.
Nice. James Deloney asks, what strategies are you using for listing leads from your online lead gen?
Yeah, good question. So first and foremost, know this, most sellers masquerade as buyers online first. So going into your buyer calls, these leads that you generate through your website, with the understanding that probably most of them have houses to sell. And so having a really good script and asking them, are you guys currently in a lease or do you have a house to sell? Right? It's an either or. Like, oh yeah, we do have to sell our house. I say, great. Did you want to get a sign on the lawn right away, or did you want to get out looking first? I say, well, I guess we probably should sell. And next thing you know, you're having a conversation about selling their house. So that's number one. But then also we are finding that the strategy that I talked about with the radius search is eliciting a lot of seller leads. And then you've got the home values. Home values is a really good one. If you've got somebody's address and you've got their email address, you can take that home value lead and you can draw the radius search around them as well. So even if that's sort of a great, just set it and forget it long-term nurture campaign for a home values lead, right? So somebody comes through and they opt in for a and what I actually use to fulfill the pricing side, because we don't have great sold data sharing here in Kelowna, I use just an over the net, it's called HPI valuation tool that we use, and we send them a little sheet. But then after that, we go from there right into the radius search, and that's all you really need to bubble up really good listing opportunities.
So I have a question on the on the when, right? Because this is something we get asked a lot. So you mentioned everybody's market is different in terms of when it's going to shift, but we know it's going to shift, right? And so the when is really when should you start accelerating your filling of the funnel? Like, because I think a lot of people right now, they're still, to your point, they're in that sort of lazy, like everything's selling, it's easy, I don't have to market. But if you wait too long, obviously you're behind by the time the market shifts, right? So when should you start filling the top of that funnel for buyers that you might not necessarily want today, but you're going to need tomorrow?
I mean, when do you prepare for a disaster? Now, like you need to be. I don't think you want to wait until and let it catch you flat-footed. There's really no downside. You can set up automations, and you could even have an ISA service scrubbing your leads for you, picking off some low-hanging fruit. You'll definitely be able to build a huge, like your database is your biggest asset, right? And so these new leads coming into your database, a lot of them are a year and a half out from doing something. So having them coming into your database now is going to be your downside protection in a year and a half when things do shift. And so, I think now, absolutely now.
I think the two big counterpoints to it that we hear are the objections are avoidance, right? Avoidance of cost. They're like, okay, if I don't need it now, I don't want to spend the money now, right? And also just avoidance of they don't like the scenario that it creates today, right? So like, as you know, in most markets, it's so frustrating for buyers, right? Because there's just so little inventory and they're losing bids and all that kind of stuff. So like, those are the two objections that we hear to that great advice you just gave of, yeah, you should start now because obviously you're building for your future and you're building your database. How do we help the attendees on the call get over their own objection of, I don't want more buyers right now because I don't like working with disappointing them, or I'm avoiding that spend. I think you answered the spend question because now it's a good idea. But what about the whole, I just don't want to disappoint more people right now because I just don't have the inventory for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes down to setting really, really clear expectations. So I would do some sort of informative content, whether it was an evergreen video that you could post that was, what it's like out there right now. And it's just really, here's what a tight inventory market means to today's buyer. And all it does is it set their expectations properly. Another great idea would be to have, like, once a month or every couple of weeks, do a low inventory buyer workshop, and you promote to all your leads. You say, hey, I'm hosting a workshop on what it takes to succeed in today's market. And essentially you're just going to go through a little presentation on, you've got to have all your financing dialed up. You've got to have the expectation that you're going to come in over list. You've got to be looking for off-market properties, all the different things. And so you share with them that 20-30 minute presentation, and that's going to sift and sort the people who are really willing to take the steps and do what's needed. They'll pop out the other side, and at the very same time, you're setting their expectations that now is not an easy, casual time to get out looking. And so you don't want to waste your time showing properties to people that you'll ultimately, like you say, disappoint. But I think using content, using education to set their expectations and to allow the ones, the ones that are really prepared to do what they got to do, rise to the top.
Okay, great. Another question we had was the situation where I can't sell because there's nothing to buy. How do you handle that?
Can't sell because there's nothing to buy. Yeah.
Yeah, because you had that multiple program thing, right? Where you had like all the, you have investors who are willing to rent back and stuff like that. How are you running into that much? And how do you deal with, like, people want to sell, they like that, they know they should sell for the most amount of money, right? That's the market has already taught them that, they know it's the right time, etc. But they've also been hit with the don't sell your house right now because you won't find anything and you'll be screwed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, doing an instant offer with a rent back is good, but then most people want to take their home to market and see what it could potentially get. So, what we've found is the buy before you sell is probably the most attractive value proposition that you can make right now. Now, the fact that there's nothing, I guess, I mean, that's a pretty broad term. I mean, things are moving. There's still thousands of transactions happening every month. Allowing them to be cash buyers right away so that they don't have to, like, they can pull the trigger, making them into a cash buyer so that they can pull the trigger on their next house, be competitive, be all cash, all the things they need to do in order to be successful in getting it, and then having a comfortable period of time to sell their home. That's the thing that's most attractive to sellers right now in a down market. And so if you can if you can bridge that gap, whether it's, we do it through our investment fund, which is called Cash Offer LP, but you can create your own fund, or you can just have an investor that's willing to do some short-term bridge financing essentially for these folks, buy the home and then sell it back to them. That convenience play is usually worth 3 to 5% for a buyer when they're moving to the next house. So
Nice.
that and sometimes you don't even need to do that. Sometimes all you really need to do is offer them a guaranteed outcome, and they can go and get their own bridge financing. So if you can provide them with a subject free offer on their existing home, then you're still going to take the home to market. So our guaranteed sales program does that for people, where we say, okay, I'll give you an all cash offer for your home, no subjects. You can take that to your bank and your house is as good as sold. Now you can go ahead and arrange bridge financing. We still put the home on the market. When it sells for more money, we tear up our agreement, but it gives them the nudge they need to move forward.
So you don't make them go through with that offer. You just okay. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. And I don't have to spend any money. What's that?
I didn't know you guys did that. I thought guaranteed sale was like, listen, we're going to get a better deal if we have to offer you a guaranteed sale. And so you still give them the opportunity, the secondary opportunity.
Oh yeah. That's most people do it the other way. But what we've found is using the guarantee. Like in a hot market, people aren't worried that their house isn't going to sell. They're pretty sure it will. So the guarantee loses a bit of its teeth. So we pivoted the guarantee. And what the guarantee really is that we guarantee that you can go shopping today. And we guarantee that no matter what, you got your house sold. We're definitely going to get more for it on the open market than what this guarantee is offering, but it gives you the confidence to move forward, and it gives your bank the willingness to provide the bridge financing, which is probably your cheapest option for buying before you sell.
Dude, I love that. I want to talk to you more about that offline. That's so cool. All right. Do we have any other questions for AJ here? Last session of the year. Go ahead and pop them in the chat. I'll just wait a second, see if anyone else has any more questions. Eliana, if you could please pop the @VW Academy for AJ's Instagram in there. Guys, if you want to get a hold of AJ, absolutely follow him on Instagram, send him a DM. AJ, I think you're still doing the 30. If you're serious about this, like if you're serious about growing your business, AJ, you have a complimentary 30-minute call for folks. Is that right?
Yep. And all we're going to do is talk about your business. I'm not even going to talk about our coaching program. If you want to ask me about that later, we can, but we'll just do a deep dive into your business and see if we can fix the funnel.
All right, my man. Well, thank you so much. Eliana says, thanks everyone for attending last webinar of the year. I hope everyone has a great holiday season. Go get some rest, get recharged. 2022 is going to be pretty awesome. And so I'm excited. And I'm also excited for 2023 because that's probably when that market's going to shift. And if we do the right things, we're going to be in a great place to take advantage of that. So thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see you soon.
See you guys.